welcome everybody. Thursday morning incubator. Glad you're all here. We have a very nice crowd this morning, so I'm excited to have everyone here. A reminder here, please support Dave in the local business. Go out, buy your coffee. I like what Sean does, and I've done it a couple times, but buy some gift items or buy some beer from him as well too, and kind of get two of your buy local things out of the way today. It's kind of nice to support that. I'm Chris Stevens. I'm president of Uncle Dan's. I am the creator of this, or I don't know if I want to say creator. It was just kind of my idea to create this Thursday morning incubator at a heart of business, and it has teeth. So I'm happy about that. Very proud that you're all here and want to learn and get your businesses moving in positive direction. I want to introduce Sean Hoskin behind the camera there. He's with Creative Tech Integrations. He's the HOB president. Matthew Helm with Notify Me, which I don't see Matthew here today. He's our communications lead. Cody Fensky with Chip, and Crystal Hoskin right over here. She is with CLR Bookkeeping and Beyond, and she's our events committee lead. We have three simple rules that we use here at Heart of Business that we like to follow. The first one is serve others first. Play nice. We don't do a lot of drama in here. And promote your business, but don't be pushy. Okay. So Thursday mornings are always free, but we ask that the HOB membership has a few nice perks for you. So please feel free to invite people, bring them along. That's kind of what these incubators were started for, is to kind of help give, people starting businesses or in businesses or trying to figure out how to scale business, an open forum to where you could come, maybe hang an idea out there, discuss that idea openly in one of our masterminds like we did last week, or a problem that you're trying to solve, or maybe it's a marketing idea. But this is an open opportunity platform. All right. And so what I'd like to introduce now is I'd like to step into our speaker. Now, I have not met this gentleman, but Michael Christensen's been kind enough to set this gentleman up with us, and I'll give you a quick background here. His name is Rob SMOLLACK. Did I say? His title of his presentation here is The Importance of Entrepreneurship, Lessons Learned and the Best Way to Succeed. I might be able to pick up a couple of pointers from you, hopefully. Former owner of 11 businesses and former employer of 400 employees.
30, right, Rob?
30, yeah. 30 businesses?
Yeah.
Oh, man, I feel even smaller now.
Since last week.
Oh, yeah, don't do that to me right now.
All right. Former employer of over 400 employees in Montana. He's a former medical professional of the FBI and the Montana State Prison System. He's founder and co-founder of several hunting products companies in Montana. He's the current owner of ASAT, A-S-A-T, Camo in Montana, so ASAT Camo. And he's an entrepreneur coach and mentor and a senior executive with Life Vantage Corporation. And Life Vantage is a global nutrigenomics. Did I say that right? Nutrigenomics? Nutrigenomics. Okay, I'm not used to that word, so I have to go back to it is a cool word. Okay, I'll give it cool points for just that it's like 3 words in one. Anyway, built a $50,000 a month income in Montana in 8.5 years, helping families in Montana start over 17,000 businesses worldwide. I'm excited to hear this guy talk. You guys? Right on. Well, let's get him up here. Rob, get on up here.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Wow, what a great event. This is waking me up to it, guys.
So, yeah, I met Rob a couple months ago, and he just happened to be in Coeur d'Alene. Just happened to be in Coeur d'Alene the last couple days, and it coincided with our meeting. So I wanted to, I've learned a ton from him. I just turned 50 this year. He's about to turn 59 in 3 weeks. And if he's just got 8 to 9 years on me. So there's other people in this room that I just absolutely also want to model myself after. I really respect a lot of you guys. But Rob has been through hell, literally, and back. And he has just done so much in his 58, almost 59 years. So I wanted to let him share his thoughts on that. Having turned 50, I realized that, I'm now closer to 70 than I am 30 or whatever, if you do the math. And I realized the next 15 or 20 years have to be the most efficient possible. I do not want to be on my last day wishing I had done more. which is what somebody told me years ago. Do not be that person who wishes they had done more on their last day. That's a powerful, slightly horrifying thought. And so, having lost my father in March this year, turning 50, I'm like, you know what? I'm leaving nothing on the table. There was a post that I saw on Facebook years ago. It said something, I just wasn't able to find it, but I've got it on saved somewhere. It says, like, I want to go to the grave kicking and screaming in a good way and saying, man, what a ride. Like, woohoo, shouting and like, sliding in like the home plate and then saying, what a ride. And so I want all of us to work together for many, many years and lift each other up as a group, as mentors, and let's make the next decades of our lives count. So with that, Rob's been through some crazy stuff. There was one funny story that I would love for you to touch on. Is he went to an event, I don't know, last year, a few years ago, of very high, powerful income earners. And the two people on his sides, one was wearing like a Dickies overalls and was making millions of dollars doing food trucks in California. And the other lady was just wearing ripped jeans and a t-shirt making millions. And she just did t-shirts in Las Vegas. So most of our problems are right up here, the between the ears. So with that, Rob Smollak, a good friend of mine.
Thanks, Mike. I got this up here.
Oh, you got mic'd up.
Yeah, I'm good. Can you guys hear me okay? Like I do these meetings all the time. I was in Orlando about 6 months ago in front of like 30-some thousand people. And I just love it. I love helping people. I came from nothing. I grew up in a small town in Montana. My mom was a single mom. I love seeing young people. I have about 4,000 young people that I help right now that are about your guys' age. So I love that. Thank you for that. But I grew up with nothing. And there's days I didn't eat growing up. As a single mom, I fought every day. I was the smallest kid. We were one of the poorest families in town, and I fought. I would punch somebody in the face at the blink of an eye because I was always the smallest. I thought if I got the first punch in, somebody would break it up before I got killed. And I did. And the local police department called my mom one day and said, you need to do something with your son. He's going to end up in juvenile hall or prison by the time he's 18 years old. So they forced me into wrestling. And I ended up being a 2-time straight wrestling champion in Montana. And I hated it. And I built my wealth, you guys, with a chip on my shoulder. I really did. And I went into medicine. I was in medicine for about 10 years. I got a chemistry degree. Any of you guys got a degree and you never used it? That was me. I followed this really hot looking gal my freshman year in college into a class my first day, and it happened to be chemistry. I ended up with a chemistry degree. Dated her for about 6 months, but I never used it. And then now what am I going to do? And I was sitting at home one day. I was going to go play football in North Dakota. Never played football even in high school. And a buddy of mine went to play, and they recruited me to come and play. And I was fast, and I was a little feisty, and they said, we'd like you to come run back kicks and punts and be a defensive back. I said, great. I ended up with mono. A couple of days before I went, my spleen got all screwed up, so I couldn't really take a hit. So that was the end of that. Didn't even make it to school. Sitting at home one day, my buddy comes, one of my friends comes in I graduated with. He's like, man, what are you going to do? He goes, I don't know. I might go be a nurse. I go, you know what? You were always the guy that helped people at the kegers when they were throwing up. You really like people. Why didn't you go do that? And I said, but I'll go with you. I'll help you get through the course. I graduated number one in my class, which wouldn't really mean much. I just knew I had to work hard if I was going to go to college because my mom couldn't afford to send me to school. So I had to get some scholarships. And so I went. I got a nursing degree and graduated with that. The state of Montana hired me to run the medical department at their prison in Montana. I was in a riot in 91. I watched 5 people get murdered right before my eyes. No counseling over that. I was still pretty young. About 4 years of that, the state of Montana actually put me through PA school. I was probably one of the first PAs in Montana. That was the easiest probably degree I ever got. So I ended up getting that. And then a guy that I wrestled with in college lived in Portland, Oregon. He was a U.S. Marshal. And he called me one day and said, hey, Rob, the FBI is creating a position out here, a little bit undercover, but you have to have some tactical training and the medical background. They said, you'd be perfect for it. I was a father of 2 sons and one on the way. And I applied for the job and I got it. I thought there was no way I would get it. I got the job. I went out there. I worked there for about 3 years. And I was adopted. My dad who raised me adopted me at about the 10 or 11. He married my mom. He got hit by a car and was killed instantly one day. And I got that call, and I quit the FBI that day, and I moved home to take care of my mom. And when I got home, within 2 days, I bought a business because I knew as an employee, I would never live the life of bliss. Guys, only 1% of the people in the United States retire with a life of bliss. The 4 to 5% that actually do retire are still living on a very, 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 very fixed income. Maybe a little pinch, a little, you just can't live that kind of life. And I think that's what life is about. Like when Michael said, I swing for the fence every day. I swing for the fence every day, and I miss probably 7 out of 10 times, but that's batting 300 in baseball, and that's about a $30 million a year contract. I'm okay with that, right? So I've literally failed myself to financial freedom. And I never looked at it as failing. It was just like, don't do that. That didn't work, right? And so that was my journey. And I got so focused on making money, I destroyed my family. Me and my wife were divorced after 19 years of marriage, 13 years ago. That same year I was divorced, my oldest son, DJ, died in my arms. I was holding him when he took his last breath. And that was an instant. He had an aneurysm, burst and killed him instantly. No signs, no symptoms, nothing. And I was paralyzed from the waist down. I got 6 rods holding my spine together. I got hit by a car walking across the street in Sacramento, California. And I was paralyzed for about 4 months. Then I didn't know if I'd ever walk again. That was my life 13 years ago. About 8 years ago. So there was about 5 years in between that I absolutely hated my life. I had 11 companies at the time, 400 and some employees, a TV show. I was making boatloads of money, but I was lonely and miserable. My other 2 sons were college athletes, and I didn't even know them. And I thought, there's got to be something different, and I know a lot of you guys are probably strong faith people in here because I've met some amazing people since I've been here. I walked away from faith 13 years ago. I turned my back on it. I became so bitter and so angry. Like I was just the most angry, bitter person that you would probably ever meet. My 2 sons used to tell me that I was the Grinch that stole Christmas because my heart quit beating 13 years ago. And fate have it, I was over by Great Falls, Montana one day, and a doctor approached me on the riverbank outside on the Smith River. And he walked up and he said, Rob, I'd love for you to be my business partner. I'm like, who does that? But when he introduced himself, I knew who he was. He was in charge of continuing education for every doctor in the state of Montana. His practice was in the top 1%. He was in charge of continuing education when I was in medicine, and that was 20 years prior. So the guy had credibility with me, so I just heard him out. And he showed me a different way. He literally showed me a different way. And there was no risk. And I said, dude, I'll be your partner. And I didn't say it right away because I didn't trust people, I didn't like people, and I didn't even want to be around people. And that's pretty pathetic when you have over 400 employees, right? I just didn't even want to be around people. And he introduced me to a guy in Cleveland, Ohio that was about 6 years younger than me. I am so competitive. And this guy got on the phone with me. I couldn't see him. It was just a phone call. And I'm sitting in a sports bar in Helena, Montana with this doctor and his wife. And he calls this Scott Satterfield guy up. And the Scott guy gets on the phone with me. And I asked him 5 questions. How many employees you got? How much inventory? And what's your overhead? Guys, if I'm going to buy a company, invest in a company, or take over a company, there's things that I look at. And I've done all 3. There's certain things that I look at. And they have to fill the boxes. They have to fill the checks. And so this guy wanted me as a business partner. I said, how many employees you got? And he goes, I don't have any. I had over 400. I was ready to kill half of them every day. So that was a plus. That was a green check. I go, what's your inventory right now? He goes, I don't have an inventory. Well, I saw a study done by the National Institute of Health and many, many studies, like 30 studies on PubMed.gov. And that's where I used to go to research of drugs and antibiotics I used to prescribe to patients. And I saw a product on those sites that was all natural. And to this day, you will still not find an all natural product on PubMed by name. You won't. And it just gave it credibility. It gave it so much credibility, but I had no idea what I was doing. This is how I created my wealth. When I started my casinos, I found my competitors that were bigger and better than me in casinos, and I watched what they did and I copied them. When I started my clothing company, that's the only company that I still have outside of was my clothing company. 2 of the larger, you guys heard of Sitka, First Light? I started those companies with Jason and Jonathan at Sitka, and then Scott and Kenton at First Light. I started those companies. They used my pattern to launch both those companies. And so I was in the outdoor industry, and I hated it. Like, I never had fun making money. It was just a grind. And it was a way to put food on the table for my family, but I never enjoyed it. And when I became a partner of this doctor, he said, Rob, just go help people. That was kind of an oxy thing for me. Like, what do you mean help people? Like, I was pulling a knife out of my back every day in business. We could have had this discussion. Even you had 3 employees and you're ready to kill people, right? I had over 400. Like, I was hiring and firing every week.
Oh, it's all about the theft and the cameras and the theft every day.
Oh yeah, like I own bars, casinos, restaurants, clothing, laundry detergent, Like my employees were stealing from me every day in some way, somehow. And it crushed me. It even made me more hardened as a person. Because like, God, I treat them good. Why are they doing this? Right. And I was, like I said, I was making money, but I was miserable. And then all of a sudden I became a giver. Right. I started reaching down and saying, you know what? I know how to do this. I'm damn good at what I do. Right. And I said, let me help you. Grab my hand and let me help you in this thing called life. Guys, making money is so easy. And I'm assuming most of you guys are entrepreneurs in here. Making money is so freaking easy once you understand money, but most people don't because they're not taught it. They're not taught even how to make it, right? They're doing the grind, the 40-hour work week, blah, 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 and hoping returns that the retirement thing, it doesn't come, guys. Only 1% retire with a life of bliss. All of you, or most of you, have bought into a system that's been broken for well over 60, 70 years. And people say, well, well, only 1% can retire with a life of bliss. I think this life is something that you should go after with. Like I get out of bed and I'm ready to go every day. And I'm married now to the most amazing person I've ever met in my life. We met at a wedding. My national sales manager for my clothing company was getting married in Bozeman, Montana. We met at the rehearsal dinner. I was a groomsman in the wedding. She was a maid of honor. I was standing in the little restaurant and all the bridesmaids come in. You know, I was single. And she walked in dressed to kill, gorgeous. And she walked right over to me. And I was like, ah. And she gave me a hug. And Michael knows my wife hugs everybody. She's the most loving, caring person I ever met. Some of you guys might know Summer McCain. Summer was a big time skier. Would have been an Olympian, but she was doing a photo shoot and she wrecked and totally destroyed her left arm. And so it destroyed her career. So she went into pharmaceutical sales and then medical device sales. She was this top salesperson for Pfizer for years as a woman in a male dominated field. She's a kick butt person. And we met and she walked up and she gave me a hug and she says, hi, my name's Summer, but I got to pee. And I was standing in front of the bathroom and she shoved me all the way and went in the bathroom. You know, now I've been a business partner in this company that this doctor got me involved in for about a month. And this gal just pushes me aside. And now I look at the guy getting married because it's all about me now. I could care less that he's getting married. And I go, who is that? And he goes, Summer. And I go, that's Summer McCain, right? That's who you've been talking about? He goes, yeah. And I go, oh my God, she's gorgeous, beautiful, 12 years younger than me. I was okay with that. You know, and she was gorgeous. And she goes to the bathroom, the door closes, and then my phone vibrates. I look at it, and it's a girl getting married. Rob, are you open to dating? Yes, please tell me the blonde wants to know, right? Because Summer was the only blonde. So they yeah, Summer wants to know who the guy in the Under Armour shirt is. I'm with guys half my age. They're all good-looking dudes, and I'm standing there. And I look at all of them, and I don't see any Under Armour. And I went like that. I went, I had Under Armour going across my chest. Like, yes, right? And she walked out of the bathroom. She goes, I just don't have time for you. And she walked away. I scared her because then she found out who I was. Like everybody knew me, right? I was busy. I was gone 9 months out of the year. I was in Asia for 3 months every year with manufacturing. I was traveling the world filming my TV show. I was never home. But we fell in love almost instantly. And I had been a partner in this company, but I really wasn't doing anything with it. I was making money and I was trying to help a few people. But I met her and I was like, okay, everything's set aside. I'm courting this beautiful little blonde. And when I focus on something, I'm going to end up with it sooner or later. I'm like a pit bull. And we fell in love. And then I thought, well, how's this going to work, babe? Like, how's this really going to work? I'm gone 9 months out of the year. She came from a divorce. She worked her guts out. Her husband sat at home and did nothing for years. Did nothing, skied and smoked dope and floated the river. And that's it. That's all he ever did. And she took care of him. And I was like, how's this going to work? And I tried to get her to move in with me where I lived in Montana. She lived about 2.5 hours from me, and I got a house back from my ex-wife that she completely trashed, and I was fixing it up. The whole time I'm running all these companies. Like, so people can't tell me you don't have any time. That's the most ridiculous thing. If you want something bad enough, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse every day, all day. And she came over to help me get it one day, and she stepped 1 foot in, and she stepped 1 foot out. And she says, listen, I love you, but I am never going to live here. I am never going to live here. So if you want to be with me, you should just move to Bozeman. That's like mini California. It's like, really? Like I come small town Montana. I go, okay. So I moved to Bozeman the next day. And we were living there for about 8 months. And she came home one day and said, you know, I can move. Oh, really? I didn't tell her that I hated it there. I go, where? And she goes, well, I don't know. I said, pick a place. And she was like Bitterroot Valley, you know, outside of Helen or Missoula there. Or like Glacier Park, Whitefish area. I go, find a place today and we'll buy it. Don't tell my wife that. Within 2 hours, she found a massive log home outside of Missoula, Montana. And we bought it that day. We lived in it for almost 4 years during peak COVID. I built multi-million-dollar businesses out of my house during COVID. Knock on the door. Two little guy and a taller wife knock on my door about 9 o'clock one night. And that property was huge. I had security systems. When you came onto my property, it was a ding in my living room and a ding in my bedroom that I knew somebody was coming onto my property, front gate or back gate. And I went down and I opened the door and I go, can I help you? And they go, I want to make a cash offer on this property. I'm like, what? You have a cash offer. We're from California. He goes, I was a geophysicist, but Obama destroyed my business. And she was the chief of police in Redding. She didn't want to be a cop anymore, but with going everything in California. We went out. We have horses, and this would be beautiful. This would be perfect. I'll make a cash offer. And I looked at my wife, and I go, really? It was our dream home. And I go, well, how much? And they told me a price, and I was like, sold. So it was ridiculous. It was 3 times more than what we paid for it. 3 times. And it was a 7,500 square foot log home. 5 fireplaces. We had a fireplace in our bathtub. You sit in the bathtub, sit next to each other. My wife could drink a glass of wine, and there's a fireplace at our feet. It was incredible. So now I go, well, now we're going to move. Whole time, guys, I'm trying to make a point. The whole time, I'm still building businesses. My wife finds a place, on the river. Now you're coming this way from Missoula when you get to Frenchtown. Have any of you floated the river through Frenchtown? You know that big white house that's on the river outside of Frenchtown that looks like a resort? I bought that house. I went and talked to the guy who owned it. And people have been trying to buy it for over 20 years. Yeah. It's a McAfee estate. Everybody, multi-millionaires, actors, actresses. Andy McDowell tried to buy it one time. And him and his wife, it was their dream property. I just had a whim one day, and I went out there and I knocked on his door. And I introduced myself. And he invited me into his house. We sat in his little nook over the river because in the backyard was the river. In the front yard, there was 2 massive ponds. And you had to drive between the 2 ponds to get to the house. And we sat down and we talked. And I said, man, I would really love to make you an offer on this house. And he goes, yeah, I'm just not interested, But his wife passed away about a year prior. But it was a huge property, and it was a lot for him to maintain. He had a maintenance guy that he had hired. And he goes, well, Rob, do you have a family? I go, yeah, I've got 2 sons, but I'm newly married, and I do have a little girl. Like, right? I got a little girl. And he said, I'd love to meet him. So I pinged my wife. She was in Missoula at the time. My wife came out, and me and Steve came out of the house, and he was in his 80s, and he had a little hard time walking a little bit. And he goes, Rob, let's walk across the property. So me and my wife and my daughter started walking, and Steve was walking just in front of us, kind of slow. And my daughter walked up to him, 3 years old, reached up and grabbed his hand and was holding his hand as they were walking. Steve turned around and looked at me, and tears were coming down his eyes. He's like, Rob, I'll sell you this property. I go, can I put the contract together? I'll make it good for both of us. He goes, if you put it on paper, I'll sign it. I bought it. 3 months later, I had a cash offer. So I sold it. Another dream property. But I'm like, what? With those rods on my back, I don't have any pain, but it's a little stiff in Montana when it's 20, 30 below. And I told my wife, I said, let's just move south. I want to move south. I can build business. Guys, I can build businesses anywhere in the world. Like, if you know somebody in Japan, I could have business for you in Japan in 24 hours. And so I hired 5 guys to drive the biggest U-Haul trucks you can get. And we started driving south. Had no idea where we were going to go. We got about to Salt Lake City, and a friend of ours called and said, hey, you guys are moving? I go, yeah. And he goes, where? I go, I don't know. I go, I got a place in Scottsdale, but I really didn't want to live in Scottsdale. I go, I don't know what we're going to do. And we were about Salt Lake, and he's from St. George. He goes, why don't you stop and see me? Let's have dinner. I go, hey, I got these 5 guys with me. They're all young, about your guys' age, driving these U-Hauls that I was helping. Stopped off at his house, parked the semis down in town. He lived outside of town, and he built a little apartment above his garage. It was 440 square feet. Brand new. Nobody lived in it. He goes, where we're going? I go, I don't know where I'm going. He goes, why don't you live in the garage? I go, what? He goes, yeah, there's an apartment over there. I go, really? So we went up and looked at it and looked at my wife, and I go, what do you think? Our bedroom was 1,500 square feet. This house was 440 square feet. My daughter's bed touched the refrigerator. And for a year, we lived in that place, and we built many multi-million-dollar businesses around the world. We sat on Zoom every day. Tony, the guy that we lived with in the apartment, he'd come up and he'd grab my daughter. He had a swimming pool. Him and my daughter would go swim for 3 or 4 hours. Sometimes his wife would knock on the door. You guys eat yet? No. She'd bring us up lunch. We'd be sitting there doing Zoom meetings all over the world. And there's times where I increased my income by $100,000 a year in 30 days. And my wife said something to you, Michael, about my income and how it affects and how we do it. What did Summer say to you? I know it stuck with you.
Yeah, our income is a reflection of the people we have.
It truly is, guys. The universal law of success literally is just be willing to give a little more than you're willing to receive for a short period. It will come back to you tenfold, and I never understood that my whole life in business. Because conventional business is such dog eat dog. Look what he's dealing with here in this building. I've had 2 good talks with him and a Zoom call with the gentleman that owns this place. He's going through a lot. He's going through a lot, right? And I don't care where you are. I don't care how old you are. I don't care what color you are. If you want it bad enough, there's people out there that will mentor you to have it. You need mentors. I don't care who you are. You need mentors. I know lots of friends that are multi-billionaires. They all have mentors, right? I've gotten to where I'm at with mentors. A lot of my mentors are dead, right? They're the books that I read and stuff like that. But I always seek it out. Now, moving to Las Vegas, what did it do? It just upped my game. We got literally invited to a VIP business deal. And the gentleman he's the number 1 business consultant in the U.S. And we got a VIP pass that he wanted to meet me and my wife because we'd been on the cover of a bunch of business magazines, and he knew a friend of a friend. And he said, I want Rob and Summer there. And so we walked in this big venue in Vegas, and he had his VIP right up front. And I was like, oh my God, and we sat there, and I learned so much in 15 minutes. I learned so much in 15 minutes. And social media is powerful, guys. And I am the dumbest person when it comes to technology. You guys are probably would smoke me in social media, right? I am the dumbest person in the world when it comes to technology. But what do? Is I surround myself around people that are very good at it. I surround myself around people that are better than me in every aspect. It makes me look really smart, and I'm probably the dumbest one out of all of them, but I know how to network, and I know how to get those people to come together. And when you get enough people that come together and you lock arms and you go in the same direction, it makes you unstoppable. And that's what me and my wife created in the world. And it's grown by leaps and bounds as we've been going and continuing to help people. And all we did, guys, this is all you do. Once you've got a little bit of extra money in your business or whatever you do, just take that and reinvest it into other things that are going to keep giving you returns on your investment, creating assets, not liabilities. I had 13 streams of income 8 years ago. Now I have 43 coming in every month, from real estate to everything, like storage facility. I try to do something to where I could separate myself from the creation of that income. You know what I mean by that? You get so dang good at that money keeps coming in where you can put time somewhere else and keep compounding that. Because once you learn how to separate yourself from the creation of your income, you're free. And that number is different from every one of you in this room. I knew that number had to be for me where I could just retire and be free, right? And I had a mentor that did 140 million just in business last year. And that's what he said to me. He goes, Rob, I'll help you and Summer get what you want because you're going to do this. I go, oh, I'll do it. He goes, but once you and Summer get what you want, all I ask was you guys please continue to pay it forward. I pay it forward every day. I've been doing meetings all day, every day. I didn't even eat yesterday. Literally didn't eat. Because I get so excited about helping people. Business people, this community is amazing, guys. You guys got some amazing networkers here, amazing business people here. I've met some incredible people. I just grab onto them. Because if I can save money, that's incredible. And we lock arms together. You lead me to thousands of people that lend to 10,000 and 20 and 30 and 50 and 100,000 people where you're all doing something together. That's the key, is don't try to do it on your own in anything that you're going to do. You've got to find people that you can just mentor with, because there's times where I'm down, which is very rarely, but I got people I can reach out to. And I met Michael not very long ago. End of September. And a friend of mine put me on the phone with him, and we had a talk, and we became like brothers instantly. And I said, I'll tell you what, you commit to me, I'll be here. You'll see me face to face within a month. When we had that conversation. It's been about 3 weeks since I made that conversation. But I'll be back here, or my wife, or when my daughter's in a private school. She was only in school 2 days a couple months ago. And the people that own the school are good friends of ours. Like, your daughter was in school 2 days. Well, I said, well, yeah, but we were in Dominican Republic, and we were in Cancun, and we were in Florida, and we're like, she's smart. My daughter is so far ahead of the people in her class. But I said, you know what, babe, how about we divide and conquer as we're helping people while she's in school? Right? And it's kind of rare because when it gets really cold, I send my wife. I stay in Vegas. But she's going to Kentucky. When I get back Sunday, so I'm leaving here tomorrow. Me and Michael are going to drive to Helena, and I'm going to, for 4 hours in the DoubleTree hotel there, I'm going to teach about 200 people how to do what I do. And then the next day I'm going to fly back to Vegas. And then a couple of days later, I'm putting my wife on a plane, and she's going to go to Kentucky, Indiana, and Ohio and help thousands of the people that we have there that we're helping. And it's incredible because we do it because we love it. Now, I used to have to travel because I had to. My wife had to travel because she had to. Now we do it because we want to. And sometimes people, and you guys probably know people like that, especially young people, like when you're going after something, people will try to pull you back, right? It's like crabs in a bucket. It's like they don't want you to succeed. They're trying to always pull you back a little bit. I just pat them on the butt and send them on their way. I did not like people 8 years ago. I literally didn't like people. But when you start helping people, and they start texting you and calling you. Like just this morning, I woke up to probably 3 or 4 voicemails and probably 20 texts saying, thank you for coming into my life. Do you think I love what I do now? Like I had no heart 8 years ago. And all of a sudden, 2 months after helping people, a lady reached across the table and grabbed my hand and said, Rob, do you mind if I say something really quick? Her son died the same day my son died, same everything. Her son died 4 hours before my son. They were exact same age. Her son died in a car wreck. My son died of an aneurysm. She reached across the table after 2 months of helping people, and she grabbed my hand and she says, Rob, this is probably the first time that I felt like I've had hope in my life in 25 years. Thank you. And I fought my feelings my whole life. I would not show feelings at all. Never cried my whole life, and I've had a lot of tragedy. I bawled in that restaurant when she did that instantly. And I was just dating my wife at the time. We were engaged, but we weren't living together. And instead of going back to where I was living, I went the complete opposite direction, and I drove to her house, and I cried all the way, 1.5 hour drive. And I got to her house and she opened the door and she goes, oh my God, she thought somebody else died because I had people dying in my life all around me. And I go, I just had the most amazing experience. And I told her about it. And I go, I get this now. I kind of get this thing called life. At 51 years old, she says, what's that? I go, it's not about me. It's about all the people that I can help. So I hope you guys got something from that today because Michael did something too. I try to do little things that kind of help people out. If they want my help, great. If they don't, that's okay. But when Michael was in here, he bent over and he picked up a quarter or something when we first got in here. Did you guys see that? And I was subtle. Yeah, he was kind of subtle, but he picked it up and he showed me it. And I'm going to make a point. I had 2 guys that I wrestled with in college that reached out to me and my wife about 6 months ago. They live in Missoula and struggling financially in a big way. COVID destroyed one of their businesses, struggling really bad. And like, Rob, we watch you and your wife. You're traveling all over the world. You guys have an amazing life. Your daughter is beautiful. Like, oh my God, like I want a life like you. And I go, maybe you should do what I did to get it. I go, so I met with them at Buffalo Wild Wings in Missoula. We sat in there, we were eating. Show us what you got. So I poured my heart out to him, like, we would never do that. Really? I took a $100 bill out. I put it in front of the 2 guys and said, here's for your lunch. I got to go. It was good to see you guys, but I don't want to catch what you got. And I got up and I walked out with my daughter and my wife. My wife was like, whoa. I don't have time to waste with people that don't want my help. Like, I'm not looking for tire kickers. And we walked out of Buffalo Wild Wings, and me and my daughter were right next to each other, and there was a nickel on the ground. This is a lesson. And me and my daughter went for the nickel at the same time. I might even gave her an elbow, right? Because I'm competitive. Like, I pick up the nickel. My daughter kicks me. I put the nickel in my pocket. My one buddy behind me goes, Rob, are you serious? And I go, what? He goes, that's just a nickel, dude. And what's wrong with that? He goes, yeah, you put it in your pocket. I go, yeah, I attract money. You repel it. That's why you're broke. More to that than you think, guys. I think in opulence every day. I think that I can crush the world every day. You go into my house, on my mirror, cars, vehicles, our dreams and goals are posted everywhere. If you do not write down your dreams and your goals, you'll never achieve them, guys. Go look at the studies that were done by Harvard and some of the Oxford and stuff like that about entrepreneurship and stuff like that. The ones that write down their dreams and goals and look at them every day, 1,000 times more will achieve those dreams and goals than the people that don't. If you don't have it, you can't just sling mud and create wealth. You can't sling mud and run a business. You've got to have a daily plan. You have to have a daily action plan. And I see people, not only in my industry, but in business, that they get up in the morning and this, whatever, I'm just going to go do it. You have to have something out there that's a plan, so you're not slinging mud. You only got so many hours in a day. But what I can do when I'm sleeping tonight, guys, I'm making money in Japan and Thailand and Singapore and Malaysia, the Philippines, New Zealand, and Australia. Can you say that?
Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about traditional business and the
Guys, I have no
expense
employees.
of starting traditional businesses,
The-
the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
30 companies. The cheapest business I ever bought or started was $178,000. I became a business partner in this doctor's company for $999, and I was making money that night. So if you compare apples to apples, what I do, none of your conventional businesses will touch what I do. We won't even come close. And I've got people all over the world that we do it together. We network together. Like in Thailand, me and my wife did a Zoom call in Thailand. Now, to do business in Thailand, it would be a lot of money. But I've got a doctor in Thailand as my business partner that translates for me. I get Dr. Sunny on a Zoom. I'm talking to 300 people in Thailand. He translates, and we just do our thing, right? This is crazy. We were doing a Zoom call in Japan about 4 months ago with a gentleman that has 4 or 5 properties in the U.S., little Hawaiian, part Japanese guy. And there were about 300 people on a Zoom in Japan, and they were translating and I talk fast and loud. And so they had to tell me, the translator, like, you gotta, slow down, right? And so I had to slow down a little bit. And my daughter, beautiful, like she's a gorgeous little 6-year-old, she's chasing her dog. We have a Springer dog, and they're running behind us. And I don't know where this came from, but she's running, and she goes to my dog, Ozzy, quit being a dumbass. My 6-year-old said that on a Zoom call in front of 300 plus Japanese people, and the translator translates it. I was mortified. It's like, we're done. We're done. I looked at my wife right away. I said, you need to clean that up. And they all laughed. Now we're the only ones that they want helping them in Japan. They reach out to us all the time. We're just real. I know when I speak on stage in front of thousands of people, sometimes there are people like, oh, what's this guy going to say? I don't use a teleprompter. Everybody that speaks right alongside me has a teleprompter. I always tell my wife and I speak for other companies, they'll call and say, hey, would you speak here? Yeah, but I don't want to know what they want me to talk about until I'm behind stage and they announce our name. And then we're walking up the back ramp in the stage, and my wife will say, they want us to talk about motivation, or they want us to talk about or whatever, because I've got ADHD, incredibly bad, ADHD, all of it together, all of it combined. And if I have to look at something and read it, that's probably not what's going to come out of my mouth. And so I just go up and I do it. And it's just more comfortable. They made me memorize a speech one time, and I hated it. It was 15 minutes, and I had to remember. I hated it. It felt like it wasn't being me, And so I just go out there and just touch people's lives, guys. Like, I never knew that once you become a giver, life would be so much better. I never understood that. I walked away from faith 13 years ago when my son died. I was so bitter, so angry, and I believe we're in Vegas for a reason. My wife.
I'd like to clarify for everybody that you now renewed your faith.
Oh, big time. My wife went to a networking event in Vegas. It was a women's only networking business event. Big time business women there. And my wife went, and she met this young 27-year-old South Korean man. He must have didn't get the memo that it was women only. And my wife came home and she goes, oh my God, babe, I met this young man that I think you would really resonate with him, because I love helping young people. I love it. And she gave me his number, and I called him, and I met him at a Starbucks kind of close to where we live. And he goes, I want to know what you guys do. And I told him, he goes, I want your help. And so I said, okay, let's do it. So I brought him on. I said, okay, I'll help you create a business. And he said, great. And he said, but you need to go to church with me Sunday and meet some of my family. And I went, it's okay. And I always do what I say I'm going to do. So I went home and told my wife. She goes, what? My wife was raised atheist. Her mom was married like 5 or 6 times, married a Catholic for about 4 months. And so she went to Catholic church, for 4 months. That was it. We had no faith in our life. We have an amazing life, guys, but that's one thing where we're missing more than anything. What's the most important? And we go to that church that day, and I sit in the front row of everything that I go. Tony Robbins, Eddie Smiley. I just had dinner with Ed in Vegas about 2 months ago. I sit in the front row. We go to that church. We sat in the second row. That's how uncomfortable I was. Like, we're so uncomfortable. And we walk in. We're sitting in the second pew, and I look up, and there's Paul. He's playing the guitar. He's been like, oh, there he is. And he's got a little bit of rhythm, And the music wraps up, and the pastor gets ready to go up, and we're still standing. And Paul comes into the pew with us, and I have my hand on my wife's hand, and I'm sweating. Like, I am sweating. And I think she was too. And Paul puts his hand on our hand. And he goes, Rob, do you mind if I say a prayer for you? I'm like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, I rolled my eyes. Like, what good that's going to do? I had so many people dying in my life, and I prayed all the time. It didn't do any good, blah, 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 right. I was so bitter. And he started to say a prayer, and within about 30 seconds, I felt my wife's tears hitting my head. I stood stone cold Steve Austin forward. Like, you ain't going to get me, dude. That guy's like, you're not going to get me. You're not going to get me. And I could feel it. I can feel it. And after about 2 minutes, started bawling, and I don't even know why. Right? I felt something. We go walking out of the church that day, and the pastor's wife, Gayla, comes up to my wife, and she goes, who are you two? Like, I need to know you two. She goes, as soon as you walked in the door, I saw something that I've seen one time in my life, and I've been pastoring my whole life, me and my husband. I saw something in you guys when you walked through that door. We need to talk. So we go to coffee with her the next day, and we're sitting out of that coffee shop, and Gayla goes, this is a church. This is what you guys do. And I'm like, what? She goes, this is our church. This is what you guys do. I want you to help the people in this church. Okay. Now my wife goes every Saturday at 5 a.m. for 4 hours and hands out about 3,000 boxes of food. And every box of food has a dozen eggs and a gallon of milk, and then just tons of food. And she hands a rose to about 3,000 cars every Saturday. I get out of it because I've got a 6-year-old little girl, and I'm not getting her up at 4:30 to get ready to go hand out food at 5. We did do a couple times, but it's that act of giving that has just filled my heart so much that my heart is so full now. That little gal that you can see out there talking with the little boy, Carly, yeah. My son was in college with her. They were on the track team at the University of Missoula. I met her with her mom, and her mom came to meet me and my wife in Hamilton, Montana, and they were sitting there, and we started talking, and her mom goes, Carly, you need to get in business with these guys. Me and your dad can't help you in life with what they can do. Like, you need to just get around them and know what they know. A month before that, I met her younger brother who tried to kill himself twice. He was a 2-time state javelin throwing champion in Montana, had scholarships all over the country. Looked like blonde hair, blue eyes, looked like a freaking supermodel. Tried to kill himself twice. His older brother brought him to my house one night, and he sat down, and I said, young man, don't let go of me. He just got married. He's got a little baby, and he's a monster in my business. He's amazing. It's completely transformed his life. And that's what I love. I could probably even be way, way bigger in the industry, and we're at the top of the industry, but I could even probably be bigger. But I love taking people. I love taking young people and mentoring them through life, or taking people that have gotten their butt kicked in life, that got, maybe they just didn't have a shot, or they just didn't know how, or they were put down all the time, told them they'd never succeed or anything like that. I love grabbing onto people like that and changing their life, because they're some of the most powerful people in the industry once they have to go through all of that. And I'm going to close it with this, guys, because I'm not proud of it, but a lot of my wealth I created with the chip on my shoulder because of how I was raised, always fighting for everything I ever got. Nobody helped me get anywhere in life until about 8 years ago, and then I started consuming mentors. I go to my class reunion every year. We have a class reunion every year. I had my 40th class reunion this last year, and I go. And the reason why is because I was the smallest, poorest kid in class. The cheerleaders never dated me. They always dated the basketball players and the football players, right? And I would go to that class reunion, especially after I met my amazing wife. And I would go, and I would find the picnic table with all those cheerleaders that wouldn't give me the time of day. And you know the song by Toby Keith, How Do You Like Me Now? I just go sit in the middle of them, and I just want to say, how do you like me now? And my wife has become amazing friends with all of them, with that. But that's kind of what I did. That's what motivated me. It's one time, find something that really motivates you. If you ask for my mentorship, I will push you to the edge of that cliff. I won't push you over, but I'll get you dang close to where I'm going to. If you want success, you need it like you need oxygen to breathe, guys. I would take, what's your name? Logan. I would take Logan out in the ocean, or out here in Coeur d'Alene Lake, and me and Logan would walk out into the water, about up to his shin. And I'd say, how bad do you want success? He'd say, pretty bad. I said, okay, let's take another step. I'd get him up to about here in his neck, and I'd say, how bad do you want success, Logan? Well, Rob, I want it. I'll do anything for success, right? As long as I'm not going to hurt anybody, right? And it's ethical and legal. I'm all in. Pretty soon I get Logan. He's over his head, and I'm holding him underwater. Now he's fighting for air, and I'm holding him, and he's fighting, and he's fighting. And then I finally let him up. How bad do you want success? And I go, you need to want success as bad as you wanted that air to breathe when I was holding you underwater, guys. You will never reach that pinnacle of success without wanting it that bad. It's almost got to be an obsession. But don't forget about your family in the process. Don't lose the most important things to you by creating that success. What me and my wife do with our daughter is she goes right with us. This is the first time me and my wife have ever been apart, and my daughter have ever been apart. Ever. My daughter's been all over the world. I can show you guys a video. We were in Croatia this last year, and the top 5 nightclub in the world is a catalog or a castle that they created into a nightclub. And we rented the top floor of it. And we were sitting up there having dinner, me and my wife. And I had to go to the bathroom. I thought there'd be a bathroom. It was a castle. The bathroom was down in the dungeon. Like I had to walk down all these stairs and this, and all the night. It was amazing. And I come back up and I see my daughter, and she puts my cell phone down right away. She was 5 when this happened. And I'll show it to you if you guys want to see it. She's on it, and she said, "Hey, my name's Gabrielle. I'm 5 years old, and I'm old enough to drink wine." And she grabs a glass of water, and she swirls it because she's watched her mom drink wine. She swirls it like this, and she takes a drink, and she goes, "It's my wine time, and I'm old enough to drink wine, and my name's Gabriella," and blah, blah, blah. And then she saw me coming, so she hurried up, shut it, and set it down. But she posted it on Facebook. 1 million hits in like 20 minutes. I have all these networkers around the world that are big time networkers, like social media networkers, reaching out to me. "Oh my God, Rob, like, use your daughter." Like, I didn't know what they were talking about. They're like, "Yeah, your daughter just posted." Like, what? I pulled it up. I think, oh. And then she did one in a sushi restaurant. We go to water park every day in Vegas for like 4 hours with my daughter. And we hit the sushi restaurant, get up and go to the bathroom. I come back. She did a Facebook Live, set my phone down. "My name's Gabriella. I'm 5 years old. Send me your dogs and your cats. I'll take care of them." And she started to rattle off the address. And my wife dives across the table to grab the phone from her. But she has so much fun. And it's so cool when I'm the only dad at gymnastics. I'm the only dad at her karate classes. I'm the only dad that shows up for Daddy-Daughter Day. The rest of the moms come. It kind of breaks my heart. We were sitting in one of her school. They were getting some awards, and this little girl sitting next to my daughter, Camry, little Filipino gal, about half my daughter's size and her same age. And Camry looks up and she goes, "Hey, Rob." I go, what's up, dear? She goes, "Where's my mommy and daddy?" They're working, right? They couldn't be there. I said, I got you. I got you. So I was her daddy for a day. So it was a pleasure, guys. Thank you. Go ahead.
So I was stuck at Boeing from 1996 to 1999. My dad was a corporate executive, and I'm just still going to include you, Rob. But as I entered adulthood, I realized that my dad was gone a lot. Like, "Oh, your father's gone. What do you want to do for dinner?" A kid of the 80s, I would say, "Oh, let's go to McDonald's, or let's go to Ivar's, or let's go out for Chinese food." That didn't stack up too well as I got into middle school, a little chubby, if you know what I mean. But as I got into adulthood, I realized that I didn't want to be on the road all the time. When I had a family, I decided I wanted to be home. And so I was stuck at Boeing, and I thought, you know what, I got to do something different. And a friend of mine said, "Oh, hey, come work with me at Merrill Lynch. You'd be great." And the more I thought about the financial advisor profession, it's very similar to what Hal does, what Rob does, and several others in this room. We just provide a service, and we can provide it anywhere. And ironically, I just looked it up. Zoom stock since August is up like 70%. So Zoom is back in town after getting slaughtered for several years. So Robert Kiyosaki said a great quote, like, "You have the power to make millions right here in your hands. So you don't have to give up what you're doing. Just utilize this amazing piece of technology to make your life more effective." So I got into the financial advisor profession because I can do my business anywhere with this. I can be home every night with my family. And I've been home with my family 99.9% of the time since the first one was born 17 and a half years ago. And so I just want all of you to know that going and doing business the traditional route is great, but you might also do something on the side to help free you from that endless hamster wheel. I'm lucky because as the stock market goes up, my paycheck goes up. If I get another client, my paycheck goes up. So there's no cap. But as you've all heard me say, every single client almost, I have to drag them in myself and say, hey, let me be your financial advisor. Rob, Hal, several others. I mean, it's all about working with a community of people and trying to be the most efficient that we can possibly be in our lives, so that as the curve of life goes on, it gets easier, not harder. And a lot of Americans are on this path where it just gets harder the older you get. And then I can speak from experience because like 80% of my clients, not because of my fault, they're train wrecks. They're absolute financial train wrecks heading right into a stone wall. And they're going to get to 70, 75, 80 years old, and they're not going to be able to do anything. They will have no freedom. So I beg of you, please find a mentor, whoever you want. I approached Hal this summer, and I've talked to him several times. I'm like, Hal has things that I don't have that I want, and I respect him as a friend. Rob, the same way. These two guys I look up to. I want to learn from them. Sorry. And I just want to get to the end of my life and go, I gave everything I had, and I changed lives all over my community because I watched my dad on his last day, and he did. He had a fan base at his funeral at my mom's house. And it wasn't because he chased money. It's because he was a good person. So with that, I just want to say thank you all for coming. I'm a crier.
That's not good because now we cry together. We do, we do. We cry together.
I just have so much compassion for people. I want us all to succeed and have a great family life, all of us. So anyway, man, can you delete that from the YouTube channel? Anyway,
no, I would like a copy of that.
If you want to cry or financial advisor, call Michael Christensen. But anyway, all of you are great friends of mine, and I really think I love this group, and you are my family, and we can all learn from each other. So thank you.
Rob, are you comfortable with doing some Q&A if anybody has?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right. So first of all, what town in Montana are you from?
You know what, Anaconda Butte area?
Yeah, I know Anaconda. I'm from Miles City.
Oh yeah, I grew up in Anaconda, like the armpit of the United States.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's where I grew up.
Yeah. And then what's the sushi restaurant you eat in Las Vegas?
The sushi,
Yeah.
like everyone.
Every single one.
Everyone.
What's the
raw fish?
Oh, dude.
Oh my God.
Valentine's Day last year, my uncle, what, babe, where do you want to go? Like, we work hard, but we play hard too. And she goes, well, I found this sea salt restaurant that I heard so much about. It's 5-star, blah, blah, blah. And I go, okay, make reservations at Sea Salt, and then let's go to the Awaken, the show at the Wynn Casino. It's a beautiful, amazing show. So we make reservations, and we walk into this restaurant, and all I see is these aquariums with all fish and octopus and stuff in it. And all Asian people. And we go and we sit down, and I'm like, and I couldn't read the menu. And the lady comes over and she goes, my wife said, what do you recommend? And she points, and I can't read anything on there. And I'm like, I can't even read the price. And then I give her a thumbs up. And our table was about from here to here and about this wide, like a picnic table. And they start bringing out all this food, and it's all alive. It's alive. Lobster, claws, tape, but it's alive. And the octopus, and I was like, oh. I paid $440 for that meal, and I ate corn. That's all I ate. It's the only thing I could recognize that was edible for me. I like sushi, but not when it's... They cut the tail on the lobster, and they opened it up, and it's like and you're trying to take the meat off the tail. And I was like, oh. And the couple behind me stood up on their booth and they were videoing over the top of me. The chefs came out they were all videoing me. People were talking. It went viral. I was like, are you? And so after my wife ate some, like she cut one of the tentacles off the octopus and she dipped it in the soy and she put it in her mouth and I could see the tail like, and I was like, and it suctioned to the top of her mouth and she couldn't get it. So she takes her chopstick and she's trying to jab it from the top of her mouth. And I'm across her going, and this is all video. It's all on social media. And I'm like, oh my God. And we got done. I was like, 440. Like, are you kidding me? I go, I need a burger. I need grease. I need fries. And so we stopped off at Gordon Ramsay's burger joint on our way to win. And I just ate grease and fries. And I think I've used my sleeve instead of a napkin. I was like, oh my God. We're sitting in the Wynn and we're sitting at the show. And my wife goes, and I go, what? She goes, I think I can feel it moving. I was like,
So that's probably more information than you were looking for.
It sounds like you got pranked.
don't go to Sea Salt. I'm just going to tell you. Like, if I would take you, if you came to see, I'd take you just to see your reaction.
Don't order the delicacy.
But there's so many awesome sushi restaurants in Vegas. I like the $25 all you can eat.
Yeah.
Because I get my money worth.
Imperial sushi.
Yeah, I love all of it.
Yeah.
So,
Any other questions, guys?
I'm going to go with a couple things. I was actually just driving over here this morning, and my wife a couple days ago had sent me a reel on an Amazon thing. And you click on one reel, and it opens up a ton of other reels, and it's all these opportunities, right? And I was telling my wife, I'm like, are you interested in checking that? And she goes, yeah. I was actually just telling her a couple days ago, I'm like, I think you would have been really good in the stock market. I think you should get together with Michael. I think you would be so much better than me, right? But I said, a lot of times I feel like all these things happen and I see them on the tail end, right? After everybody made all their money, I was like, oh, I should do that. But everybody all made all the money, right? Is this
timing?
Come into this?
Timing is everything in business. If you have timing, you have nothing. And that's when I looked at this company this doctor made me a part of. It wasn't even branded yet.
Right.
See, the S-curve in business is like here. What's your name, ma'am? Say me in April, buy a business in Coeur d'Alene today. So you've got the S-curve in business, right? So we're at the top of the S-curve. So we borrowed money or whatever. So we're in the negative. And then we're really in the negative once we start going. But once we get a little bit of momentum, a little bit of hype starts going in like that critical mass, when you start going up that S-curve right here, that's when 80% of the wealth is created in any business. Not just what I do, in any business. And then when it hits the top of the S-curve, that's the stabilization phase. What happens with most companies once the hype's over, that stabilization phase crashes. My company won't do that. It's so unbelievably debt-free.
Let's talk about
You know,
Make America Healthy again, because
it's
Hal's in
so
there,
important.
And you're and me, and but let's just say Bobby Kennedy, he wants. I mean, let's burn the big pharma and let's help America regain that. And that's kind of where I'm sorry. That's where we are right now in this country. We've been abused by the medical system for 100 years, maybe 200. I don't know, since the Rockefellers were around. And now it's time to take our country back, but also our humanity back. And God gave us everything we need to be healthy. And that's exactly where we are. Like in the case of Rob's company and mine, and there's families in Coeur d'Alene that can buy the entire company right now. I mean, you think like LifeVantage stock went up 150% since July because they specifically are going right after the most intense healthcare problems in America. Oxidative stress, aging, oxidative stress and Ozempic, for example. Ozempic is destroying the American people. There's like $13.9 billion a year of being spent and injected into Americans, reverse engineered from lizard venom. And it is making people look unhealthy. It's stealing their valuable, healthy muscle tissue. It is causing pancreatitis, inflamed kidneys, and blah, 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 blah. We as Americans and humans, we need to get off of that stuff, and we need to take our lives back in our our own health is our responsibility. And so the answer to Sean's question or interest was, this country is like at the big, think of this as the invention of the internet or the invention of crypto. Like, you are at one of the most powerful moments in human, I'm going to say medicine, but we're going to call it nutrigenomics, meaning taking care of your DNA, your genome, your biological self in a healthy way, instead of just popping pills, getting injections, trying to mask the symptoms, all that nonsense. And I think, especially for you younger generation, you're aware of the scam that has been put upon the American people, whereas baby boomers love drugs and doctors and traditional medicine. Gen Xers are like, we woke up, but we were blinded for a long time. And your generation is going to be like, yeah, no, you guys, so the
Right.
doctors in the hospital is going to have a hard time with your generation, which is great. So I'm just saying that, yeah, this is like, I said to a friend the other day that and again, you guys and Rob and me and whatever, we're on the beginning of the greatest health revolution on the
Yeah.
planet. This is like Bitcoin at $10 or $5, because over the next several decades, people are going to wake up fast. Does that make sense? Is that kind of what you were
Yeah,
asking?
so keep, like your wife, keep your eyes open. Look, always be looking, right? Like I said, as long as it's legal, ethical, and I'm not hurting anybody, I'll look at anything. Like, I'll literally look at anything, and I won't prejudge that because it's this or that. I had a principal of a high school in Boston reach out to me a couple of years ago, and he's like, Rob, I want your life. And I know him. He's been a customer of mine in the clothing industry for about 10 years. We've become pretty good friends. And I go, well, let's talk tonight. So we got on, we did a Zoom, and we started talking. And he goes, oh, I can't do that. Because I said, now, I'm pretty raw. But I said, if I could teach you how to make $10,000 a month just selling tampons, right? And you're a guy. And I'm going to teach you how to do that. And I'm there, maybe one in my nose wrestling. But I said, if I could teach you how to do that, make $10,000 a month selling tampons, would you be all in? He goes, Rob, if you taught me how to shovel for $10,000 a month, I'd be all in. I shared with him what I do and how I created my wealth. And he goes, I can't do that. He's still miserable. He still hates his life. And that was 2 years ago. My life has got exponentially better. Like, my income increased by almost $10,000 just last month. We launched the only weight loss product in the world, the GLP-1 that everybody's doing with Ozempic and all that. That's a hormone in your gut, right? We just launched a product that's all natural. All natural, no side effects, nothing. We did $10.2 million in a day and a half. And I just share. I don't run around selling.
They sold 5 months of product inventory in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. I don't sell products. I don't have customers. I teach people how to build businesses. Because doing that industry, I never saw anybody create generational wealth for their family selling products to friends or family. But I know lots of multi-millionaire type billionaires that have built businesses all over the world. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do what they did. I'm not going to do what 95% of the people do. I'm going to do what they did. And that's all I did, is I copied what they did.
So the last thing I want to ask you, I try to ask anybody who comes and speaks, for you yourself personally, is there a podcast, a book, an audio series? Is there something that's really, really impacted you, and what would you recommend?
No, like Grant Cardone has been huge for me. I'm partners with Grant on a couple of big properties in Florida and Texas, and he's kind of been a mentor to me. Like, I got his number. Didn't like him at the beginning because he was so much like me, right? He's like, rah, rah, rah. But my wife, I said, babe, be obsessed or be average. That book, like, I remember my wife as a medical device rep was traveling, and she put it on Audible in her car when she was driving to North Dakota, and she drives 16 hours to see her first doctor that she would consult with. She came home after that trip and she walked into the house, and it was like, and my wife's a ball, like, she's on stage. Nobody can touch my wife. My wife will be one of the top female motivational speakers in the world within the next couple of years. Easily. Nobody can touch her. I have to speak with her. I'm like, she makes me up my game. I'm like, oh my God, we try to outdo each other sometimes. She's amazing, but she came in after reading or listening to Grant Cardone's Be Obsessed or Be Average, and she came in swinging. She was that excited. I listened to Eddie Milet. I Google motivational, and that's what I listen to when I'm in the gym. I don't let any negative in my life. I don't watch TV. I don't let any negative in my life. If there's negative around me, I cut it off at the neck. Life's too short, right? If you would have wronged me 8 to 25 years ago, I would have ate your lunch. If you wrong me now, I dwell on it for maybe 30 seconds and I move on with my life, right? I just don't let it get to me anymore, right? I just don't. I try to be the best version of myself that I can be. And I'm real. I still learn every day. But I love that passion of helping people. But you've got it. Those books, those motivational things, Google, find whatever that makes you tick. I always tell people, like, you got to figure out what makes you tick. Because if you don't, you will never accomplish greatness. You never will. And you've got to get out of your comfort zone. My mom has owned her own business for 52 years and she's still broke. I take care of my mom, bought her a house, I take care of her, pay for all her bills. Still owns her own business 52 years later and she is still broke. The reason why is my mom has never got out of her comfort zone. She's terrified to do anything outside of her comfort zone. I go, you will never create anything great in your comfort zone. You've got to get outside. You've got to push that envelope every once in a while. I do something every day that scares the crap out of me just to keep me going. Keep that ticking. Like a name comes to me, I reach out to them within 5 seconds. Because if you get an idea or a name or something, if you don't act on it within 5 seconds, your brain will automatically start to shut it down. That's a proven fact, scientific fact. It's a 5-second rule. And Mel Robbins even wrote a book on it. That's a good book too, 5-second rule, that gets you to act right away. And so anywhere I'm at, if I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Right? Even if I'm a little scared to do something, I reach out to somebody, go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I do it. And you guys, when there's something that you really don't want to do, that's when you need to do it. Because every time, because I'm always a person of my word, and I've traveled all over the world telling people, I'll help you. And it's snowstorms, canceled flights, but I still figure out how to get there. It's always turned out amazing for me. Every time. And the ones that I didn't really want to go do it, I was the most afraid to do it, it's always compounded to the positive. Because I think those names or those ideas come to you from somewhere. It's put there for a reason. Now you have the choice if you act on it or you don't. I just chose to act. Mike said something yesterday when we were meeting some people yesterday, and he said after his father died that he quit being afraid. He quit being afraid. I don't care what people think about me. If you like me, great. If you don't, I could care less. I'm a good person. I help thousands and thousands of people. If you don't like me for that, I still sleep good at night. I quit worrying about what people think about me. That's a true form of freedom.
Extra trait.
Yeah. Yeah.
One real fast question. So you gave us a lot of really good points, and I wrote a bunch of them down. For clarification's sake, what's step one?
Action.
I'd say call someone that you want to learn from.
Yeah, you've got to make that first step. You've got to do action. Like, are you guys familiar with? There's so many books out there, but like The Traveler's Gift. Have you guys read The Traveler's Gift?
No.
Read The Traveler's Gift. At the end of it, I guarantee you the hair on your arms will stand up.